model has got 4 critical steps to it. So what we want to have happen is we want to have managers who are able to work with their employees to bring forth their most authentic compassion, their caring, their sensitivity, and for them to be really mindful in the moment as well. So that's what we need out of our personal support workers, developmental disabilities workers, nurses, anyone who's really in the helping field. So we want to have that as the outcome. Now, what I suggest in the model is that unless that worker, and indeed unless this manager at this moment in their coaching, can consciously connect with that employee, and then teach the employee how to connect with the patient or the resident. But let's just speak of the managers for a while. Unless they can consciously connect, which means being present with that employee, listening in a way that means that they are going to be putting forth their best objective self, not already admitting a decision, where their mind's not drifting someplace else, but where they really are connecting with that employee in a way that says, hey, I really care about your idea, even if I don't agree with it right now. I care about that. Because employees know when they are being brought to a level of trust. In other words, I can trust this manager. I can trust to tell them what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. And by the way, how do I know that that manager can be trusted? Well, because they've shown some vulnerability to me. They've shown that, yeah, they'll acknowledge a mistake when they make it. They'll even apologize when they mess up. So this tells me as the employee that I can trust this manager, so I'm going to make this connection. So this step of conscious connecting is critical, and it's built on track records, say, of managers being able to come to many of these kinds of little moments and show that, yeah, it's a two-way street, and there's not kind of a higher and a lower here. There's just us connecting for the best of how this employee, this social worker, this development worker can go and help someone. So that's the step just below what we want to see happen in terms of the actual interview. Now below that, in order to make that conscious connecting happen, that manager has to be able to clarify the needs of a situation. They have to be able to say, you know, right now, I'm a little bit upset, and emotionally, I'm a bit kind of not in the greatest mood, and I'm a bit impatient. So the manager has to clarify their own mood in this moment. They have to be able to say, okay, this is where I'm coming from. Then they need to clarify where the employee is coming from. Is this a moment that's timely for the employee? Is what I'm saying here useful to the employee? Am I putting it in a way they understand it? So that's that clarifying step. Now, in order to get to that clarifying step, which you need to get to the conscious connecting step, which you need to get to the being able to complete a really solid interview with this employee, in order to get to that step, you have to bring a certain calm to yourself. If a lot of interviews with coaching particularly, there can be a tendency for one or the other person to start to get a little bit agitated. And if you can bring yourself to a mindful moment, you will be present and being able to calm yourself so that that calming will then impact the employee so that they can be calm. Because as soon as you start to get a little bit nervous and jerky, they're going to get that way. So that step of calming is critical. Now, all of these steps that I've just given depend on one very critical factor. And that factor is being able to catch yourself in the moment. If you can't, in that moment, catch yourself, Peter knows that he's talking to this employee right now. If I can't catch myself, the likelihood of me then bring myself into a calm, bring myself into clarifying the needs of the situation and my situation, being able to then connect consciously with this employee so we can have a really fruitful and constructive coaching session, it's not going to happen. So the catching is critical. From there, all 5 steps, including the last one, which is the interview, can then take place successfully. And that's what our model has taught me to do. And it's taken me well over 2 decades to refine this process, working with literally hundreds of managers, coaches, seeing what hasn't worked, seeing what has worked, put them together in a model that really seems to be having a major difference. This exact model example has been tested in a large agency in Hamilton, Ontario. We took a 3-year study after training managers and workers to be able to implement this program, and we have dropped the behavioral incidents. This is a developmental disability service that has many, we call behavioral instances throughout the year, and this model has literally dropped those behavioral instances, each instance being an opportunity where people get agitated, anger, and physically aggressive, where they could, be hurting themselves or hurting an employee, hurting another person who's being supported in that home. This model has dropped those instances by almost half, by 43%. This is 43%, and that's averaged over a 3-year period. So this isn't just a 10-week study. We have taken this model, trained the managers, and over a 3-year study, dropped those instances. And it's brought an incredible increase in quality of satisfaction to the people who we are supporting with developmental disabilities and long-term care needs. And frankly, it's also brought, as employees are reporting, a sense of satisfaction, a sense of fulfillment that they didn't have before. Managers' jobs that reporting are significantly less stressful, and just overall, everyone wins, both the residents and the patients, the managers, and indeed the employees. So that's why we're offering the model, and we would like to see this put throughout Ontario just as quickly as we possibly can. So that's our vision for the next 5 years.